I see really mixed messages being sent by the school reform movement to teachers. So on the one hand, we're saying to teachers, teachers are great, we love teachers, they're so important. And on the other hand, we're saying to teachers, we wouldn't trust you with our neighbor's dog, and so we're going to micromanage you, essentially. And I think that the consequences of those mixed messages are pretty tragic. So, you know, on the one hand, we've got teachers are so important, and what happens is that teachers get held responsible for things they can't possibly be held responsible for, like the effects of poverty. I think it's a kind of cruel joke. So what we really have in this country is a poverty gap, and someone along the way renamed it as an achievement gap and held teachers accountable for it. And so on the one hand, we think that teachers can do more than they can do, which is to close the poverty gap. And on the other hand, we don't allow them to be as effective as they could be because we undermine their professional judgment on every possible level. And I think that it's pretty simple because in a thriving democracy, what you need are empowered and engaged citizens. And I don't think that schools can possibly help to shape empowered, engaged citizens when teachers, the very people who spend the most time with our children, are disempowered themselves. And so, you know, the effect of this punitive school reform movement has been to strip away, layer by layer, all teacher judgment and decision making until you have this kind of scripted, standardized teaching and scripted, standardized assessments. And so, you know, in Michigan, it's back to this cruel joke. In Michigan, teachers have to continue their graduate education while they're teaching, many times with their own funds. But they can't actually do the things that they're learning in this graduate education in their own classrooms. And so I think sometimes the effect of a really good graduate teacher education is a kind of professional depression, because you're learning about this powerful pedagogy and you're not allowed to use it in your classroom because of this scripted, standardized teaching that's in place. And so, you know, again, thinking about scripted, standardized teaching, the airlines, you know, they've got those scripted, computerized menus in place to make you think that they've got a customer service department, right? And those scripted menus are pretty bad at finding your lost luggage, and they're even worse for teaching children. So I think this is a problem that can't be solved by just fiddling with the particulars of the reform movement or the language of the standards. I think that even teenagers know this. So I actually, in Michigan about 5 years ago, they created these grade-level content expectations. And I think they were trying to fiddle with the particulars of the language to make them sound less authoritarian and intimidating. So one of the 8th grade content-level expectations for language arts it went exactly like this. Students will be enthusiastic about writing and learning to write, right? So I actually wrote that content-level expectations on the board at the beginning of one of my 12th grade writing classes, and I asked students to free associate. And one of my students, the first one who spoke, said, well, I just imagine some guy coming up to my desk and holding a gun to my head and yelling at me, be enthusiastic. And one student, Nate, said, oh yeah, it reminds me of a Simpsons episode where Flanders is supreme ruler and he decrees that everyone has to smile, and if you don't smile, these hooks come and grab your mouths up and into a forced grin. And so I think students know the difference between just fiddling with the language and really addressing the issues of power and trust that are at the base of this punitive school reform movement, which has a kind of hatred of teachers embedded in it that I think we can't really make any progress until we address.
Your data doesn't matter. Your data doesn't matter. I was zapping out and Saturn when you test on me I'm better. You better climb your corporate ladder before I bite you like an adder. Your dad